Here's what happened. Making the hard decision isn't a lot of the times like the big aha moment you see in the movie, and then like the camera zooms in on the character and they have the light bulb moment. This is the decision I have to make. Many times it's that messiness that you get hit with, where there's a ton of fear, uncertainty, unknown. You're like huddled up on the bed, or you're trying to like hold it all together and be and say that you're fine when really you're not. And so with that fear, there can be a lot of holding yourself back and settling rather than making that hard decision. It's the pushing it off till tomorrow. And what I've realized for me is that I've never been mad about making the hard decision and like moving forward, but it's rather what got me mad was the amount of wasted time that I held myself back from making it. And what I want to talk to you about is how you can stop settling and finally make that hard decision that you've been pushing off. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be doing a bunch of different stuff, a lot of those distractions that are out there. So by you being here, I'm excited for us to get present and acknowledging that as an entrepreneur building your business, I know that you don't want to settle, but it can be really easy to settle based off of people that are around you, and messaging that's out there of just accepting where you're at. And what I want to remind you is you have so much potential within you. I go back to this principle of immense potential that I'll talk about, but ultimately what it says is that we have more potential than we'll ever develop in our lifetime. So why not see what's possible and explore what's possible for your life? But that comes with a lot of hard decisions along the way that I will tell you creates a lot of this fear, that can bubble up in the body. So let's get present, because I know you've had a lot of shit and challenges you've dealt with to get to this moment right here. Probably got a lot of those challenges afterwards you got to deal with. So we'll do a deep inhale through the nose. We're then going to exhale it out through the mouth. You can stretch it out. You can sigh it out, whatever is feeling right for you. So here we go. Deep inhale through the nose and release. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. That's a vibe. Oh, I like it. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. If you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. Got a few commitments for you. First one is to continue to grow this show. So by you subscribing and following, if you haven't done it already, it helps to honor that commitment. And it's been wild since now over 8 months since the launch of the show, to see the growth. And I really do appreciate your support in this, and being a part of this movement. The second commitment I have for you is to be honest with you, to set the expectations for what to prepare for making burnout extinct, and telling you that it absolutely is possible for you. I want to make sure you know that, because with making burnout extinct, it's not just about these results of feeling more energized in your day or feeling that aliveness of life or staying in the game longer as you're building your business so your best work can be realized and brought into reality. It's all of that, as well as the hard work behind the scenes of putting in the reps when no one else is watching. Those moments where you have to, at your core, connect with your emotions. And that's where you can experience the anger, the shame, the guilt when you get off track. Honoring all of that and then continue to move forward and honoring the pain that comes up, but not staying stuck in it or running away from it either, because that can cause you to stay into this cycle, this loop where you're not able to get out of it. You feel stuck and you feel like you're settling, which ties into what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for being here, for being a part of this movement. It's remembering that making burnout extinct includes all that and more. And I want, to the best of my ability, to be honest with you in what it takes to make burnout extinct, based off of my own experience back in 2018 when I hit my burnout after the social media conference where 500 people came together. And one of my main reasons for hitting that burnout was the amount of lying that I was doing. And that's why honesty is such an important value of mine. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But to the best of my ability, I want to share with you what to prepare for. And then when I make those mistakes, owning up those mistakes and sharing that with you here. So let's get into it for today. I'm fired up to talk about how to stop settling and finally make the hard decisions. So how I relate to this was back, I talked about this with my $250,000 lesson, where I blew $250,000 in building out that social media conference back in 2018. And I remember having to send out that email to vendors saying I fucked up at the end of the event. It's where I had business debt that was piling up. I couldn't pay the vendors and I had to ask for more time. And I took that debt on personally for my own accountability and realizing this is how I wanted to build my business moving forward, because I know I'm going to be staying in the game, or at that time, getting back into the game at some point after recovering through the mental and physical exhaustion I was feeling for the burnout. And so you have these hard decisions. For me, it was that decision of like sending the fucking email, having to do that rather than running away. There could have been other ways of going about it for not honoring those contracts. But it was telling myself, okay, this is the decision I know to be true for me. And it's so much messiness and fear that was building in that uncertainty and an unknown as to what are they going to say even to this, and having to trust that this was the right move for me to do and to move forward in doing that. So what I want to talk to you about is, what is that hard decision? Like, thinking about that even right now. And what we'll do is take another deep breath in through the nose and exhale it out through the mouth, because these hard decisions can create a lot of sensations in the body that could feel uncomfortable for you. And that is where you can stay stuck of settling and running away from all those sensations, thinking there is something wrong with you, or like this isn't natural to experience. And that's what happened to me. A lot of times with sensations that started to bubble up, my go-to is to suppress and push it down and ignore it. And so to be able to connect to it was a whole new experience. It's the saying, well, it's a whole new world, thinking about that, where it was for me of not understanding that these sensations are natural. So for you, what is the hard decision that's coming up? And we'll take a deep breath in through the nose. Here we go. And then release it on out through the mouth. I'll stretch it out one more time. There we go. Because yeah, it's messy. It can feel overwhelming, but it's understanding too what the type is for your hard decision. So I break it down into two types. One type is like a Band-Aid decision, where you just got to rip off the Band-Aid. It's like a one-time decision that you make to move forward into a new direction, or to move through a problem or challenge that you're dealing with. That could be letting go of someone that's draining in your life, or stopping a strategy that clearly isn't working in building the business and having to create then a new strategy. So that right there are two examples that can come up for you of the Band-Aid decision. So is it one of those? Or it could be the decision where it's a long-term decision, meaning it's setting a new goal, is how you think about it. It's a growth goal where you have a new revenue goal that you've set for the business, or a new goal for how many people you want to serve and support in the business, or the goal for improving your health as you're building the business. You may finally have gotten that message, especially for coming back here and being like, all right, I want to focus on optimizing my health as I build the business, not forget about it, because it's something I talk about so many times. And so it's wanting to start that process because it doesn't happen overnight. So that could be then the decision. So right now it's choosing between the Band-Aid or the growth goal for the decision. And what I'll do now is go through a body scan with you so you can connect more to that decision. And what I'll do is share some questions that you can reflect on through this process to connect even deeper to this decision. Because what you want to do is create a space of safety within the body to make this hard decision. The reason why there can be so much resistance coming up from the body is because it's something new and it can be perceived as a threat from the body. And so that's where you get to the stress response. And then what I call the burnout beast can pull you back to your old ways. Talked about the burnout beast so many times now, where it's pulling you back to your old habits and your old patterns. And that's where you stay in that loop. And so we'll go through a body scan, reflect on some questions. I'll share with you some more of my own personal experiences with these hard decisions, and then go into understanding more about the burnout-proof habits, how they can be applied into this situation to deal with this intense fear and uncertainty that can come up into this unknown. It's where you're in the room and you're like freaking out. You're like, what the fuck am I going to do for these hard decisions that can come up of like, can I really do this? Is it really possible for me? So to start with this body scan, let's bring our awareness up to our head. So you can have a moment here to be right up here and just take some time to notice what the fuck's going on, right? Because you have that hard decision now, right? So that is where you can notice a lot of, it could be tornado thoughts that are happening for you. It can be a lot of tingles or sensations that are bubbling up and you don't really know what's what. And it can feel like you want to get the hell out of here or stop listening to this episode. Whatever the action is, I want you to just honor what the fuck is going on, right? Just be settled into this space. It can feel like I'm trying to think like going body surfing. You're trying to catch these waves, but you're getting hit with these waves over and over again. Actually, one of my friends, Sky Michaels, who's on the podcast, he talks about that, where you're dealing with the waves that can flow these emotions. And so let's honor what's going on. So start with the head. What's up? Do you notice emptiness? Is there a buzzing sensation? Are there thoughts that are swirling right now, these tornado thoughts? Just get present and focused up here. You don't have to change anything. It's noticing. That's one of the things my somatic teacher and friend Annabelle shared with me of connecting back to my body and sensations is that it's just noticing, not feeling like you got to force any changes or anything, but noticing what's going on. And I'm going to tell you how this ties into burnout and ties into being able to move forward and to not settle. But for now, trust me on this one. Let's get focused. So now bring your awareness on down to your jaw. Just noticing what the fuck's going on here, right? Could be clenching a little bit, tightness. You might even yawn as you bring your awareness here. Hopefully you heard that. There you go. Oh, just getting settled in. How many times do you do this, right, in your day? Like there's so much fast pace that's happening, moving from one thing to the next, and you can get used to then how the body, the state that the body's in for the nervous system. Whereas this constant fight or flight response, the stress response that constantly is happening. And as you bring your awareness on down to your chin, you can even move on down to your throat. And with that stress response, if you're constantly having stress bubble up in the body, it can lead to then the chronic stress, which then moves to the chronic inflammation for the body, and then leads to the first red flag of burnout, chronic exhaustion. And those are that's a generic red flag. But what that ultimately means is it's more of a struggle to get out of bed. It's harder to make those decisions that you have to make in order to move forward. You push things off, you procrastinate, you can get into self-sabotage, staying in a rut, all those different things. So that's something to avoid. And bringing your awareness back to your body is a great way to remind your body that you are safe in the space that you're in, wherever that is, in your house, at work, and that you can handle the challenges that are coming your way. And so it's just noticing. So we're moving on down to our throat. I feel like I'm just touching my body here on video. Just we're moving down, we're touching. Okay. So you can also do this too with my hands. I have my hands right now on my shoulders. Your shoulders may be all the way up to your ears. Just release the shoulders on down. There you go. Right. And now we're going to bring our awareness back to our chest here. Stick with me. Okay. So this is where you start to ask yourself, what do you want with this hard decision? Why do you want to do it? What's on the other side of it for the hard decision that gets you both so excited and this feeling of aliveness, but also terrified as well? Because that for me is how I look at aliveness. One of I think of that for one of of making burnout extinct, one of the results that can happen is this feeling of aliveness. And so as you even can put your hands on your heart, just notice your heartbeat. There's so many years I was afraid of my own heartbeat. And even now I got a little hesitation thinking about these hard decisions that we have to make. But it's recognizing that your body's on your team. These nearly 40 trillion cells are there to support you and the vision that you have for building the business and for your life. And so getting settled right here, it's asking yourself, what do you want by making this hard decision? What's on the other side of it? What does life look like? getting into the thoughts for what comes up, getting into a visual. If you even want to close your eyes and notice what is going on. If you're driving or walking, please don't close your eyes. But if you have the opportunity to be able to do it in a safe space, then close your eyes and visualize like what is on the other side of that. What is that desire that you want by making this hard decision? Breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Here we go. And out. All right. So we have that awareness, and now let's move on down to the stomach. And this is where there can be, for me, a lot of sensations that come up from the body. It's where I feel there's a lot of the stress can build up, tension, pressure. And those are some of the sensations you can experience with resistance. You can feel this tightening of the chest. You can feel even the tingles, and you can feel like you're hitting an imaginary wall for the body. You feel stuck. You can get into what I call sloth mode, where it's really hard to even move throughout your day and get things done for the work. Or your mind can be pinballing too. You can get into the pinballing is what I call it as well, where your mind's all over the place, trying to move from one task to the next without really finishing anything. And these can be ways that your body's resisting you making this hard decision. That's where you can get stuck in the loop. That's where you can start to distract yourself. This is where you can procrastinate, push things off. This is where I would go to, for me, of cleaning the kitchen. Like cleaning, trying to get rid of things is my way of coping with the overwhelming sensations that can come up of having to make that hard decision and moving forward. And so that's my way of creating that control and that safety. But it can be different for you. I go back to the quote of John Butcher, which is, for moving forward with making a hard decision, how he says it, how you can look at it for building your business, how can you look at it for your quality of life, is that there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. And it's understanding your way of processing to make these decisions easier to move forward in and to finally make the decision. And then as you get into the habit of making these hard decisions, you can make them faster because you have all that evidence to show that you can handle what's on the other side of this for the hard decision. And noticing what those sensations are on the other side. So this is a moment to reflect back. When was the last time you made a hard decision? And what did you feel on the other side of it? My guess is you felt some level of relief of you did it. You honored that commitment you had made to yourself of making the decision and moving forward. So relief is on the other side of it. There can be also a lot of unknown for how that path is going to move forward into the future. But the relief is there. And when you can connect back to that relief, it can help you to move forward and make that hard decision. So as we're bringing our awareness on down to our legs, let's move to our thighs. And just noticing other sensations that come up. Where can you notice tensions or pressure as you're thinking about this hard decision? Constantly coming back to the hard decision, because you want to notice where in your body these sensations bubble up. And then we can move on down to our calves, bring our awareness on down there. The ankles, you can move the ankles around a little bit, wiggle the toes. There we go. And then bring your awareness on back here to the room that you're in or the space that you're in, noticing what's around you. I learned this from my Semitic teacher, Annabelle, calling out 3 items. So I see a painting here. Or not, it's not a painting. No, it doesn't look like a painting. Looks like a picture. News article in a frame. I got windows over here, books that I'm seeing. So that can be a way to bring you back to the present and the space that you're in. We'll do one more deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale through the mouth. There we go. Another moment for me that was a hard decision was telling the people closest to me that I'm not okay. So I feel like you might be like me, where you want to seem like you have everything figured out and that you're the person that people lean on and that you are there to make sure everyone's okay. That's part of my people pleasing, of if it would feel super scary to offend anyone and make anyone uncomfortable. Or for me too, it's like wanting to ask myself, how do they expect me to show up. So let me show up as that. So then they like me more. And so it's a lot of wearing the mask. That was a lot of my life. Growing up as the youngest of three brothers, and both my brothers, playing the same sports that I played, going into high school, I was then known as a Weeks brother rather than as like, hey, I'm Robert David or RD. And so there was an expectation there. And then I had to play the part of the expectation. What happens though is eventually it catches up to you for your body. When you're not stepping into what is the brutal honesty for you of what you want and what you're building for this business and for your overall quality of life, eventually the body is inevitably, the body's going to force you to stop. And that's where you can head towards hitting burnout and getting dragged by the burnout beast, because it's exhausting to have these, what feels like weights that are holding you back. That's where this resistance can come up. The resistance is these weights, like you can imagine weights on your ankles that are like pulling you back, not letting you move forward. And it's feeling stuck. And it can be all then the stories that come up with that of, oh, well, I have to be this person for everyone else in my life. Or I care so deeply about everyone else that I'm going to sacrifice my own quality of health or my own quality of life and my health for that. And that in the long term isn't going to serve you. It isn't going to serve the people that you're wanting to care for and support and this business that you're wanting to build. And so for telling my parents I'm not okay, I remember having to do that. It was like in my late 20s. I moved back in with my parents, which it's a whole emotional roller coaster that comes with that. The shame, the guilt of like a 20-something, a man that wants to provide and support others, having to move back in with his parents and rely on them financially, rely on them for emotional support too, and then having to tell them that I'm not okay. And how I connected, being perfect and being what everyone else wanted me to be was the love. I would get their love in return by doing that. And so I remember having to make the hard decision to tell my parents that I'm not okay and really explain to them the truth of what was going on, the amount of lies that I had made over the years. When I came back to the social media conference, just that's being able to tell them the truth as to what happened for me as I was going through that process. And then just letting it all pour out, because with lying, it can feel like this pressure and this tension that builds in the body. And you might be lying to yourself about settling and saying, oh yeah, maybe it is the right decision for me to settle. Like maybe that's something I should be doing. But really that lie can build this pressure and this tension within you of knowing, no, I can make that hard decision. My body can handle that hard decision. And having to swing into that direction of like, I can do this. And so when I told them I'm not okay, I remember it was like in the kitchen at my parents' place. It was in the morning, I believe. I think my mom was making breakfast, if I remember right. And I just kind of told her, it's like we're the messy, when you make these hard decisions, it's not like this perfect way of doing it, right? You just got to do it. It can be messy. And I remember like I didn't say it as best I could. My words were a struggle, but I basically got to the point of just saying, hey, I'm not okay. And like I've been lying. And this is what I've been lying about. And just pouring it out. I remember saying I'm not okay. And what I felt was this relief of acknowledging the truth that I felt in that moment for what I was going through and sharing that. And that by making that hard decision to move forward and express that, there was such a relief, no matter what my mom said on the other side of this, because of the stories that can come up for you with any hard decision is like the worst case scenario. I'm not going to survive this. They're going to hate me. This isn't going to work out and it's going to destroy my life and my reputation and all these different things that can come up. We go straight to the worst case scenario. And for me, that worst case was like, they're not going to love me anymore. They're not going to welcome me here in the home. And I remembered even before getting her response, I felt such relief and like, oh, I did that. Fuck yeah. And then she gave me a great gift of saying, no matter what, like I still love you. I know we love you. My dad wasn't there, but she was speaking for him. She's like, well, we're here. She was disappointed, frustrated with certain things of the truth that I shared with her, but we came to an understanding and then I was able to move forward. And so those hard decisions, I know no matter what that looks like for you, right? I had the one with business. It could be personal life too, but whatever that hard decision is, as you're building this business, making it and moving on to the other side of it, I've never been mad at myself for doing that. And so I know how scary and terrifying it can be, but also it's a reminder for you that your body can handle this. It has the capacity to be able to do this, of moving forward through hard decisions. But it's to recognize that your body is like a balloon. It can fill up with a certain amount of the stress and the overwhelm. And it can fill up with a certain amount of handling all the emotions that we can experience as human beings. But if also you have no way of releasing that stress out, closing out these stress loops, releasing this energy out of the body, having these points where you can connect back to your body to feel safe in your body as you're experiencing these emotions. If you don't have all that, like a balloon that fills up with air, the balloon can pop if there's no way to release that air. And for the body, that is hitting burnout. And so you want to find these ways to be able to release this energy out, have these moments to connect back to safety so that the body doesn't get overwhelmed, the nervous system doesn't get so overwhelmed where you then shut down and stay stuck and you settle. And so it comes back to then these burnout-proof habits, making sure you have habits there that make this decision inevitable. So for the Band-Aid decisions, coming back to that decision, it's going to be a one-time decision, right? You make it and you move forward. But then there are those goals that you set up, the growth goals for those decisions for a new revenue, where it's figuring out what are those decisions that are going to make that, or not what are the decisions, what are the habits that are going to make that decision inevitable? If that's having a certain amount of sales calls that you got to do each day, who do you have to contact? What is going to make this inevitable for the body? And start putting the reps in. And it goes back to starting small there to build momentum, so that you can build the evidence to show that you can make the decision of like, this is going to be a reality for you. And then coming back to your burnout-proof habits, these are also habits to focus on putting the reps in. These habits that help you to connect back to your body, to feel safe in the space that you're in, and to feel certain and strong that you're going to be able to handle the unexpected challenges that are going to come your way, and this trust that gets built. And so that can include the workouts. Getting your workouts in during the day is so helpful. I've talked about that before. For a technique, you can try the push start, where it's doing an activity for the body for at least 10 seconds that is energizing. It could be dancing, it could be stretching, push-ups, but you can do that throughout the day for the push start. I say it's right before bed is helpful, but you can take that and implement that throughout the day. You can try the at least technique, where it's telling yourself at least you're going to get 5 minutes to go outside for a walk in between your work tasks, so that you can break it up, interrupt the patterns that are coming up, and have a moment to reconnect with your body, give your mind a reset to then get back after it and channel it in for the tasks you got to deal with. But when you can build repetition here, you build trust with your body. The other one is eating foods that are energizing for you. Making sure you're getting healthy food options in, staying hydrated, drinking your water. Those are other examples, but all these ways that connect you back to your body. Body scan, what we just did, is a great example. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, exhaling it out through the mouth is another one. But those are some examples for you, but it all comes back to body-based, connecting back, trusting, creating trust with your body. Because each time you bring awareness back to your body recognizes that you're listening. And so then it's going to give you those signals to let you know for when you're headed towards burnout and how you can make the changes to your behavior and to your habits. And then you realize your body's on your team and it's there to take care of you and support you. And so don't forget about those burnout-proof habits, because that's what helps you to move through that resistance that can come up and then move closer to getting to the point where you're making those hard decisions. And so that can help you building up to the Band-Aid decision they have to make, connecting back to your body, feeling safe. Because again, the unknown on the other side of that can be really scary for the body. And that's where your burnout beast can try to pull you back to your old ways and your old habits. And the other habit that you can try is doing one scary thing that improves your quality of life. That's the one I have. I put down one scary thing that improves the quality of life, my quality of life. That could be communicating how I really feel. If that's online, at the workshops, in person, to personal relationships, just expressing how I feel and the honesty. And that could be one example of a scary thing. It could be something else too for you. But starting small with that can help out to build the momentum. And it's reminding yourself that where you start isn't going to be where you end up, right? It can be messy at the beginning, but over time, it's remembering as you put in more repetitions, it does get easier for you to figure out what's going on in your body and the sensations that are coming up for that resistance, so you don't get so overwhelmed by it and stay stuck and settle. But then it becomes easier to understand and navigate and then move through. But coming back to that decision, right? To be honest with yourself, that decision that you've been putting off, what is the action after this time that we have together that you can go and take action on that decision? What is it? Take a moment to reflect on that. You can even write it out and then take that action. It could be focusing on one of these habits to build that momentum for you to tap into the courage to finally then make the decision, the hard decision. Or you already know the decision and this is the safety that was created here to be able to make that decision. Well, go for it now that you're in it. And then realize on the other side of it for that decision, have space and time to recover. This is coming back to your burnout-proof habits. Have those moments to go out for that walk after you make the hard decision, to go through the body scan, to honor the emotions that bubble up, and then release them out, closing out those stress loops. But give yourself that space and that time afterwards, because it will happen. That can feel like an exhaustion, because imagine having those weights for so long that you've been carrying on your ankles that you let go. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to actually feel what that's like. It's like after an intense workout, that feeling of the aches and the pains that can happen the next morning. So give yourself that space and then be able to get back into it for the game of continuing to put in those reps and moving forward and making more of those hard decisions, because there'll be more of those ahead. And what I want to remind you, if you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You have the capabilities to make these hard decisions, to move through this, to create safety within your body, and to then continue to explore possibilities for building this business and for your life. And you absolutely have the capacity to be able to handle the unknown on the other side of this. You can. It's focusing on those burnout-proof habits to expand the capacity, if you feel like it's lacking right now, to expand your capacity, to tap into more of that courage. But I want to make sure you know you absolutely got this.